Is it on? Okay. I love this story, even as a kid, maybe especially as a kid. I lived down by the Gulf of Mexico, and I always wondered, think I can do it? But I never tried. And that says something right there. That may be the whole point of the story. Because it's not really about, the important thing is not Jesus walking on the water. It's about Peter walking on the water. And too easily we forget, Peter walked on the water. And when Jesus says to him, "You of little faith," he's not talking about faith in Jesus. He's talking about faith in himself. You lost it. You had it. You were doing what I was doing, and you lost it. And you sank. But he was right there. Grabs him up. Everything's okay. They get back in the boat. Now, my brain works in odd ways, but did he just pull him up and then they walk together back in the boat? Do you think Jesus carried Peter back to the boat? They get back in the boat and they acknowledge him. So, what does this story say to us in our lives? Because it's an interesting story about Jesus and Peter and the guys. But it doesn't mean very much if it doesn't mean anything to us. If it doesn't actually impact our lives. It's not enough to be in wonder, oh, those Bible guys, weren't they cool? They could walk on water. That's not enough. What is it saying to us? First, I think the fact that Jesus sends them on ahead because he needs to ground himself again in prayer. So I think one of the things it needs to say to us is that everything we do needs to be grounded in prayer. Our lives need to be grounded in prayer. Not only the handful of gimme and the mouthful of much obliged prayer, that always asking God for stuff, or just telling God how great we think God is, but simply sitting quietly in the presence, just being still, if anything, listening. But when everything is grounded in that prayerful state, it changes things. It changes us. So that's one point right there. All of the symbolism of the boat, the water, the storm, all of that has to do with just life. Just because you're hanging out with Jesus doesn't mean there's not going to be a storm. Don't be surprised when stuff happens. I cleaned that up. Stuff happens. Storms this boat together. Now, sometimes that means we're all sitting around terrified in the boat together, but we're in the boat together. And we don't necessarily recognize that divine intervention when it comes. We don't recognize Jesus walking across the water. I think it's a ghost. And once again, the first words, be not afraid. Be not afraid. Yes, we're going to be afraid. Don't stay that way. Okay, we're going to stay that way. Don't let it stop you, is the real message. Fear is a natural response. It seems to be built into our self-preservation system. It's a motivator when it's working right. If we let it, it can paralyze us. So we just sit there flailing. Or just go to sleep at the wheel. We just put our head in the sand and sit there shaking. It seems to me that what this story is so much about is about our life together and ministry following in the way of Christ, so that here it is, we're afraid, we recognize, I think it's Jesus, I think help is here, what do we do, what do we do? And what does Peter say? If it's you, Lord, tell me to get out of the boat. He's volunteering. He's putting it out there. He's saying, I'm really scared, but I think something needs to be done, and okay, I'm willing to get out of the boat. Okay, now, stepping out of the boat in the middle of the storm is not the first thing that comes to my mind as maybe a solution. But and Christ says, come. Come. So, Peter starts walking on the water, doing what Jesus is doing. Very much flying in the face of conventional wisdom that, people don't walk on water unless they know where the rocks are. People don't walk on water. And so anybody who is even going to attempt is a fool. Well, Peter, being a fool, he steps out there. He, at least for those moments, understands that it's worth the risk, the trust that he has, that Jesus isn't going to call him out into something that's going to be a disaster. And he trusts himself enough. He steps out. And it's working pretty good there. Then he wavers and you know what happens. So what is it saying to us? Let's say individually first. Each one of us in our baptism is called into ministry of compassion and reconciliation in the world. And we constantly are faced with opportunities to live that out. most of the time, it's going to seem foolish. It's going to seem idiotic. At best, it's going to seem, it's not my problem. Or it's none of my business. Or I might get hurt. Or there may be some cost to me here. And so we're at that same place that Peter was, wondering if we should step out of the boat. Step out into something that we think maybe is beyond us. That we don't know how to do this, or we don't know if we should do this. And sometimes we actually walk on water. But it's when we let that happen, when we let that power work through us, that we are actually able to do, even if for just a little while, that which we, by circumstance, are being called to do. And sometimes we fail, and we slip under the waves a bit. But if we let Him, that Christness can reach into us and pull us back and rescue us for another day. As a community of faith, this parish, here we are in the boat. Storms are raging all around. We don't quite know what to do. The wind seems to be blowing against us sometimes. Sometimes there's a little bickering among the crew. We shouldn't be out here. Well, you're the one that got us out here. Yeah, but you're the one. You know, the way those things go. When we're anxious, when we're fearful, we work some of that out by gnawing at the others. But most of the time what's happening is just rowing, moving the boat along. Come what may, and here come the waves again. But opportunities are presenting themselves. Opportunities to reach out in ministry, in faith. Opportunities for personal transformation, of you might say collective group transformation. And there we are, sitting in the boat, wondering, should I get out of the boat? Do I have what it takes? Do I know what to do? Do I have enough faith? I'm scared. I don't want to fail. I'm afraid of what might happen. But what is it that Jesus says? It's pretty straightforward. It's very concise. What He says is, come. Get out of the boat. Give it a shot. I'm right here. Don't worry. You can do it. He's much more concise than I am. So in our walk, alone together, We're given those opportunities. The message for today is, get out of the boat.